Hi, I'm B. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to continue with the coffee shop simulator. On the last video we left off the customer asking for the cup of coffee and the croissant. So today we are going to continue with this part and we are going to dispatch this customer order. So in this is the final project, this part completed, and I can pick the cup of coffee. I can leave it on the counter. When I leave it on the counter, the item is marked as complete, and then I can pick up the other one. And yeah, the order is completed, the customer is happy, and they just give us 70 coins, which is great. So today we're gonna do that. I haven't been able to release new tutorials because for the past months I've been busy with Kitori Academy, the game I'm making, which is a game where you play as a wizard apprentice, you have a cat as a companion, you attend classrooms and train your magical skills like potions, spells, crafting. I will leave the link below so you can check it out. Before we start with the chapter, I wanted to mention that I upgraded this project to Unreal 4.27. So make sure you have the same version when you try to run the project files for this chapter. Otherwise, it won't work. So make sure you use the same one. If you have any trouble, you can always ask questions in the comments, or you can join my Discord server, which we have a section for programming, so you can ask their questions. We are going to need to change a few things on the current project files. We're going to create a new C++ class, which is going to be a coffee shop manager, which will be connected the player, the customer, and it will handle the customer order. The other thing we're going to create is an NPC actor. This NPC now is just a blueprint, but it's more convenient if we have a parent class where we can have the customer order and a few other data in C++. So first we're going to create those two C++ classes. I already created them in this project, but they are completely empty. So okay, so new class. We're going to create an actor component for the coffee shop manager because it's going to be attached to the game mode, which is available in any actor and is the easiest way to connect different elements across the project. So yeah, actor component, we can call it coffee shop manager. It's gonna give me an error. ShopManagerComponent. Okay, well, you can call it ShopManagerComponent. It gives me an error, so you can do that. Create class, and the other one is gonna be the NPC customer. We will do the same. It's gonna be an actor, NPC customer. You can create the class and wait until it has compiled. When it has compiled, you should see this NPC customer, which extends from character, and the ShopManagerComponent. I have removed pretty much everything from here because I don't need a tick, I don't need anything, so leave it empty and as clean as you can. So it's better to clean up the code before you start. And the NPC customer, it has nothing for now. So we're going to start with the NPC customer. So let's go back to the project, and if we go to the blueprint, the basic customer, this one, this is a blueprint only class, and it extends from character, and what we want to do is to move order status, order, and customer to C++. Before we do that, straight away, I recommend to put something here, so when we change these variables, we won't lose any connections across the project, because we're gonna need to reassign elements and change in various places, so this will help with that. This is a little trick. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but this will help if we find reference using this handy tool. We can find all the reference everywhere, and we will need to change that with the C++ one that we are going to create right now. So let's go to character, NPC customer, and let's start creating adding those variables. So everything is in definitions, the structures we were using in the previous project chapter. We need the customer info, which it's a if customer info is the customer information, which has customer ID and a customer profile, which is a texture 2D for the UI. Then we have the customer order, which is customer order here. So it has an ID and it has a list of items. And finally, this order status is we use this on the behavior tree to detect what is the status of the order, so we can manipulate the customer and tell them, okay, go back to your place, stay here, whatever. Don't forget to add the include, the definitions, otherwise we won't be able to detect this. So now you can compile, we can move on to the blueprint part. I also added this blueprint implementable event on ordering completed because we're gonna use this from the shop manager component. So make sure you add it before you compile because it takes too long to compile. When that is complete, we go to the VB basic customer. We can reparent this class to that new one. So we can go to class settings, then we just need to find the NPC customer. Okay, and as you can see, we have those three variables here. So all we have to do now is change these variables across all the blueprints and all of that for this one. So we can go to find references and go one by one. We modify them, we remove them, and it's important to check use this because this will give you other places, not only the current blueprint, which is the basic customer. So from here we can get that order status, and in this case we have asset. Okay, so make sure you connect everything as it was before. That's why we did this little trick here, so we won't miss any variables and everything will work as it was working before. After you completed that step, you can remove the three ones that we have on blueprint, and you should only have these three and everything should set the way it was before, otherwise it won't work. Make sure you set this to 1 because in the behavior tree we were using that logic to do some of these steps, like the customer is on the initial position, it moves to the counter position, which is in front of the player, then it goes here and it checks for customer order status is not equal to 3, and it actually needs to be 1 to wait until the player finishes with the order. As you can see, we have this PT task send order to player that, if you remember, is sending the information of the basic customer to the player so the player can show the correct UI, and it has a reference to that. So yeah, we have current order and customer info, and we send that to the main player. Another thing I had to do is to reassign in this customer, I had to reassign the customer info, the Viking, the profile, and the order, which has to match I have the empty cup and a croissant, which matches this, and this. With the NPC customer ready, we can move on to the Shop Manager component. The first things we are going to do is to add the Shop Manager component to the Blueprint game mode. There are two ways to do that. You can do that on the Blueprint itself. You can add the component, or you can do it on C++, which is the way we are going to do it. So let's open this, and what we need is the component, a reference to the component. Then in the constructor, we need to add that component as well. There we go. And the most important thing is to add the include as well. There we go. If you compile this now and you go back to the Blueprint, you will see the component here. This component will be accessed from the Blueprint customer, from the Blueprint, from this Blueprint, which is the next one we are going to do, and from everywhere really. So it's very handy. It's a good way to connect things between actors. Let's open the Shop Component Manager, and here we're gonna need a few things. We are going to need a reference to the player and a reference to the NPC customer. So let's add those two, because we're going to control things related to this, to the shop, the shop, through this Shop Manager component. The other things we need is going to be a few Blueprint callable methods that we are going to have some logic on C++ and some logic on the Blueprint. So we're going to need these two. This is our new customer, which will be used on the behavior tree on one of the tasks to get a reference to the customer character. And the other one is check if current order is completed. This one will be a method that will be called from the drop item or the counter. You will see how. So let's implement these two, but we're going to implement the minimum now. Okay, first our new customer. Actually, we can already implement that. This is just gonna be a reference. So we have this. We will call this from the Blueprint, the behavior tree. You will see now. We have the reference, and that's it. And the other one is the check if current order is completed. And we will use this every time we drop an item. This function will return true or false depending if the current order is completed. For now, we're going to return false, so the compiler won't complain, and we have everything ready. We can move on to the Blueprint part, and we will finish with this later on. So compile, let's continue. Now we need to complete the rest of the logic. So first, let's go to the behavior tree, because we're going to send the reference to the customer to the Shop Manager. So you remember this behavior tree is per customer. First, we are the customer is in the initial position, which is only for this one customer. So it will move on to the counter position, which was here. Yeah. When it reaches this, it will rotate to the player, and then it will move on to this sequence around here, which is basically we use the customer order is not equal to 3. This means it's going to do this until this is equal to 3, and that will mean the customer order is 3 and is ready. So we will use that in later on. Then it will select one of these, and while the customer order status is equal to 1, it will wait and it will send the order to the player. As soon as that finishes, it will move on to this. So basically, it will do this just once and then move on to that. So this BT task send order to player is just the reference to the order at the customer that the player receives, so it can show the correct UI. So we're going to create a new one to send the reference to the customer to the Shop Manager. So let's add a new task Let's see, we can do it from here. No, but okay, we can do it from here. It's gonna be VT task blueprint based. And it always defaults to that name, but that's fine, we will fix that soon. Now we need one of these functions, which is going to be event receive execute. Okay, we have the owner actor, in this case it will be the customer. And we can get the AI controller bound, get controller bound, this one. Okay, with this we will get the character itself, and we're going to cast that to VP customer. VP basic, yeah, this one. This is the parent of all of the customer we will have in the project. That's why we use this and not the Viking. This might change in the future. That's depending on what we need. Okay, if this cast fail, it's important to finish the execute, so it won't be in loop here, and it won't be success. Next, we're going to get the reference to the shop manager, and it's inside this, so we can do get game mode, which will give us the current one. We can do a cast to VP game mode, there. And then we can get the shop manager, get shop manager component, and finally we can call that function we just did on new customer, so we will have the reference. Let's plug that in, and we need this. Yeah. Okay, let's do this, and we can as well add one of these. No success. And finally, yeah, we can add this one. Right, so with this we can, yeah, let's rename that first, because that is very generic name and it's not very good. So we can do something like send customer to shop manager. A bit long, but yeah, names are important, so we understand what this is completely. And now we can use this task here, so the task, then actually that's a horrible name. Let me rename that again, because I don't need the blueprint. We need even less, so VT task, that's fine. Okay, that should be all right. So okay, this is the, I'm gonna fix that task. And okay, this is still a bit long, but it's okay, not a big problem. And actually this part will be done, so at this stage the customer reference will be on the shop, on this. So this one will have a reference to that, and we can start doing the rest of the logic, which is the detect what's going on with this. That's the next step. First we need to do the blueprint part, and we're going to call the function we have prepared for this, which is in the shop manager. We're going to, okay, let's open this. We're going to call this function on that blueprint. Okay, so we are going to do a few actions here. So if you can you remember, every time the player drops an item, it will call this function with the item. So we have here all we need. And one of the things we do is we have these items on interactive, which is populated from here. And we will do is to spawn an actor with the mesh that we need in its position. We had 3 positions because we decided in this game the maximum items you can have per customer is 3, so that's why we do it this way. We just put this in a place in the corresponding spot with this index. So one of the things we could do is to take all of this and merge in and collapse to a function. That will be handy to keep things clean. So yeah, we can do here. We can call this function. This one we can call spawn item mesh. Okay. What else? We can reuse the same class, so we just need to modify this a bit. So we can say item mesh, and we're gonna use the same one because we don't need all of them. So we can just call the other ones. Okay. Okay, we can remove this. I am missing something. What I am missing? This. Okay, no problem. So we can do refresh nodes, and it will pick that up, and okay, let me see. Okay, yeah, it will receive the item mesh. It will drop in the one depending on this selection. So it will, yeah, every time we drop an item, it will take the next one. That's how it works. So this is nice and tidy, and we can continue from here. So now, every time this happens, the next thing we're going to do is first get the component, the ShopManager component. So we have to do the same thing. We need to get the game mode. We need to cast this to cast BB game mode. All right. Then we do ShopManager, get the ShopManager component, and we call it check if current order is completed. So this is asking for the item ID, which is right here. So we do that, and now we can use this branch. And if this is true, that means all the items in this order are completed, and we can destroy the current items or the current meshes. So one thing we could do is to use a loop, but for that we're going to modify this a little bit. We're going to create a list of meshes, mesh list, the type actor, because it's an actor, yes, this one, and it's going to be an array. And we can add an element every time we do. So we can add this to this list. Let's duplicate that 3 times. Okay, this one, and this one. So we have this in this list, so we can go back, and if that's true, we can do a for loop and destroy everything. So okay, a couple of things we can drag that in like that. Then let's do a reverse each loop, so it will start at the end, because if you destroy things at the same time, if you destroy things from the start to an end in a list, you can have the case that it will start from the start, it will destroy the first element, and the list shrink. Sometimes that happens, so you will have null. So it's better to start from the last element. So it will go up until the first item, and then it will do the resize at the end. I actually not so sure if that's needed, but just in case, I know that works. So for each element, I have to connect that. For each element, if this is valid, so it is not null, we can do destroy actor. So we take this one, destroy actor. Okay, right there. And okay, if that's all of that is ready, one thing we could do is clean this list. Clear. And that's it. We will remove everything as soon as this gives us true. Obviously, this C++ class does nothing for now, but we're gonna do that just in a second, this part. So first, we need to check if this customer is not null, which means we have a customer and we can proceed. Next is check if this item ID is inside the list of items in the current customer, and if it's there, we can mark that item as a completed. Okay, that should be enough. Okay, this is giving me an error because I think this is the ID. Okay. Yeah. And I don't have this because this is something new we just added. So we're gonna go to the structure and we're going to do a few things. Let's go here. Okay, so it's in definitions. Okay, we should go to the order, actually here. This item order, which is an item inside an order, it has an ID, item icon, and item completed icon. We're gonna add two things. One is going to be the price of each item, and the other is if it's completed or not. This variable will help us later to see if the order has been completed. So with this, you need to compile, obviously. With this, we can continue with that. So let's go back. Now this is okay. This will be completed, and we finish the loop. So every time this happens, we will complete a new order. So next step is check if all of the items are completed. And we can also gather the amount of coins we can earn. So we just need to look through the ordered items again, and if it's completed, we can set one more completed, one item, and the number of coins. Now finally, let's go here and we will notify the customer and the player. So yeah, if the items completed are the same amount of items the current order has, that means the order is completed. We call this on order completed. We're gonna do a few steps here later on the blueprint. And we set this to true. We finished. And we put this to null, so we can do this over again until we have a new customer. Okay, this we haven't implemented this, but we're going to do that now, which is basically to collect the coins. Let's go to the player. This one, and we need the CPP as well. And here we are going to add a few things. So the next section, we are going to add the total amount of current coins the player has per customer, and the function in order to and a blueprint callable to do a few actions. For now, we just need the on order completed with the number of coins. We need to implement this as well. It's going to be very, very simple. We just need to add the amount of coins that we have here to our current coins. So every time we have a new customer, we finish with one order, we will have these more coins and more coins and more coins, and we will get rich, maybe. No, I don't think so, but so yeah, this method is complete. Now all we have to do is we need to do a few more things on blueprint. on the customer. So let's do that. Now we have to implement that event we just did on the basic customer. So let's open this, and we need to implement the event on order completed. Okay, that. And if you remember the behavior tree, it will do this until this is not equal to 3. So when this is the current order status is equal to 3, that means the customer is satisfied and this part will end it. So all we have to do is modify that variable. So let's do let's set this to 3. Okay, and then we can get a controller, self. We need a reference to self, and then we can get the blackboard. Then next one is set value as int. We can pass this order status, and for that we need exactly the same name as we have here, which is if we go to the blackboard, we can just grab the name. That's important, it needs to be exactly the same, so we can do that. So with this, everything should work. So let's see if that's true. Okay, let's wait for the customer. Okay, the customer is asking for a croissant. Okay, and then this, it will remove everything and hopefully it will go away. Wow, it does that animation. And yeah, well, that's is working, and that animation, that weird animation, we can switch that. So yeah, we have this defeat, so we can do maybe victory or something like that, whatever you want. Okay, so this part of the tutorial is complete, but there are a few things we can do to improve this. One is we can switch that UI, and every time we leave an item we can have a check, and we can also have the coins, the amount of total coins we have. So I'm not gonna do that part because I think it's a good idea if you try to complete that yourself. So I'm gonna submit I'm gonna add to the ETO page 2 versions, this version and the more complete version, the one that I have. One thing I can, I'm gonna give you a hint for the number of coins. You can add the event we just created. So we can open this and we have the event on order completed, okay, which has the amount of coins. So from here you could call the UI, which there is a reference here, and have a function to update the UI and all of that. I also added, every time we drop an item here, the player has an event with that item, so you can use that for update the UI. So yeah, that part I will leave you with that. Let me show you how it will look. So this is my final project. I actually have a few more things in this project, but that's okay, that's for the future. So this part is not still completed. There are things we could do actually to improve all of this system. So now, okay, as you can see, we have a check, a little heart on the on the cup of coffee, and when I leave that, the customer does an animation and I get 70 coins, which is great. And that's all. That's for today's tutorial. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please share, subscribe, like if you like it, because it helps. Please check it out, Kitori Academy. I think it's going very well, and I'm excited to share the game with you, and just check it out. So see you next time on the next video. Bye.